Let's talk about Trek Twitter. Serious subject. I shouldn't mess that up. No, today on, yes, Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you right from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47, your home for clarity, sanity, and the big picture every week in Star Trek. I'm so glad you all are with us today. I'm going to let everybody kind of come in and populate a little bit there. Good to see everybody back again. What's wrong with my chat here? There we go. Good to see everybody coming in with us. Hey, yes, that's my topic today. It's time to talk about Trek trivia. But as you regulars know, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a while. And then we'll take a midway break and we'll look at the Parrot Analytics streaming TV ratings, including Yes Discovery. And then we'll get to the live chat here going back and forth. A lot of stuff going on this week. Thanks for being with us again. If you're new, when we get to chat, I will try to call out all the new folks. But, you know, up until then, have fun. We have a great community here on Tuesdays Live. We are global. And globality, globalness, yeah. So I've had my head in the work oven the last few days. I have had open house, and we've had events, and I've had Cyber Monday, and a word on that later. And I've had Get the Damn Guests going for all the shows again. And I've been offline a little bit. Had a wonderful holodeck hangout on Friday with about 10 other podcasters and bloggers. Hope you saw it on the day after Thanksgiving here in the States. It's up on YouTube. But then over the weekend, apparently some fires broke out around Trek Trivia. And, you know, there's always something going on trivia. There's always something going on social media. There's always scandal of the moment. But this seemed like it was kind of like crossfires. I mean, merging wildfires a little bit. And I just want to get into this. Now, I'm not going to talk about the specifics. It would be too complicated to try to chart here on my Berman conspiracy graph. My not Burnham. My Mariner, my Beckett conspiracy graph. But here's the deal. Twitter is so great. Social media is so great. We have global communications. We have global personal communications. We just have global personal communications among millions of people that have never actually met each other. Now, you may think, after you've talked to somebody or you've read them for 4,700 times, that you know them. But, I mean, like, come on, really. How many of us have ever dated online and then finally had that live in-person date? And, okay, well, maybe not all of us, but you know what I'm saying. It's never real till it's real, even with social media. And, well, here's my thing. Where did we go there? Sorry guys, I had some points here and I really want to be on track when I do this. Some of this is very simple. Some of this we've talked about before. One of which is the bottom line is the Twitterverse, the YouTube community. I mean, a lot of things I'm reminded of lately. We all, on the best of days, forget that whatever circle we're in, whatever community we're in, wherever bubble we're in, it's not the whole world. It's not even the whole world of the bigger group we think we're of. I mean, I've said for years, you've heard me say it, that everybody online in Star Trek is not Star Trek fandom. Everybody live at a convention is not Star Trek fandom. There's a lot more out there. There's all the armchair fans. They're the fans that aren't even armchair fans. They may not even think of themselves as Star Trek, but they think and they care about it, and they make buying decisions. They make ticket buying decisions, whether that's streaming or a piece of paper to go into a cinema. Anyway, we tend to forget that our bubbles aren't the entire world, okay? And yes, it's possible that if I go to a live convention ever again, if I get into a club's discussion group or a Facebook page, if I even go into some of my audience groups, maybe there are representatives of capital WMP white male privilege, let's say, or their consorts, okay? Look, we're all there. It's a big world. But there's also times when it's easy to get into our bubble just of our situation. As much as globalization and social media and feeling like we're immediately tied to each other, this country, America, our culture, hey, our Western civilization, for all of you globalizers out there, you cross-ponders, and I love you, we sometimes get a false sense of how united we all are. We still all have unique upbringings. We still all live in our home cultures. Sometimes we embrace those. Sometimes we reject them. Most of the time, it's a mixed match, right? Sometimes we love our home, but we accept the flaws. Sometimes we hate the sin, love the sinner. Sometimes that goes for nations as well. The point is that we're not all monolithic, and we're not all at the same stage of development. And yeah, we're not all at the same stage of development on our wokeness. And sometimes, look, Twitter is great. It's only 280 characters. How many of you were Twitterizing when it was only 140? That's a recipe for brevity and clarity, yes, but also sometimes missing the point. Sometimes the nuance is obscured. And sometimes it's a great microscope for bringing out the differences, not the commonalities. Now, look, it's like, I was thinking about this. It's like, say, a campaign in a primary election. Say, like in the U.S. presidential election. You start off with 10 or 12 or 15, maybe, Republicans or Democrats. And what's they're all in the spotlight. They're fighting for the spotlight. So what are they fighting over? They're fighting over their differences. Everybody is trying to highlight what's different about themselves. But you let that campaign go on, you let that primary go on, eventually somebody has a nominee. Eventually there is one candidate. Are we still looking at differences? Are we still chopping up the field? No, we're talking about the commonalities then. Because as a famous starship captain once said, Matt, we're stronger with you than without you. Meaning that whatever our differences are as human beings, we're still all mainly in the same boat together. We still have the same basic wants and needs. Sometimes the fringes, sometimes a chunk of the fringe gets skewed, but we're still human beings. Social media does a great job of tribalizing that, and not even tribalizing. Social media makes a great job of finding whatever differences there are, or not even differences, because difference implies that it's a conscious decision. Sometimes the blinders, despite our best efforts, the blinders are on, and even if it's something as innocuous as a word that we've always pronounced incorrectly, I can tell you, I remember totally in the second grade when my second grade teacher told me that no, it's not chimney, it's chimney. I remember in the fourth grade when my fourth grade teacher during spelling words said no, it's not salmon, it's salmon. I can remember those. Those are innocuous, but they still can have, if you're a grown adult and you're mispronouncing common words, that can have an impact on your professional appearance and profile, or your whatever, even social. So sadly, that happens. We're human beings. And our cultures around the world aren't the same place. And if this sounds like I'm excusing people misusing a word, maybe I am at times. At times. I'm just saying that the world is all steeped not in the same languages, much less cultures, much less connotations of words. We all get left behind depending on what our That's all I'm saying about that. And if I'm vague tweeting here, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to lay out some commonalities here for whoever might need to say it. I'm not going to go into specifics because I'm confused because I got everything secondhand. It just brings it all back to me, the nature of what a great gift nuclear power is. I'm sorry. What a great gift social media is. Boy, that atomic metaphor just comes back over and over again. This power that can help the world that we do not know the repercussions of yet. We eventually learn. The other part of what I saw on Twitter this weekend, or learned about later, was this dynamic tension between youthful, passionate zeal, the clarity of right and wrong, and the reality of muddled life. And the way that life wears us down, the way that, yes, thank God we're all so outspoken and progressively liberal and open-minded when we're young, because life has a way of beating you down until you're worried about, feeding the 2 kids, putting gas in the car, getting the bills paid, making up with the spouse, if that's a thing, or paying attention better, or paying attention to whatever's going on in life. Family, bills, work, you name it. Our passions get squeezed down a little bit. Hopefully, not our big picture morals, but maybe the passion we bring to it, maybe the corners we could, and maybe just the ugly or sloppy, might be a better word, the sloppy unintended mess that real life brings us. Am I making excuses for abandoning what should be our clear-eyed morals and ethics and our passions and our zeal and our clarity? Because clarity is the sharp knife that gets things done. Clarity is the surgical blade that cuts away cancer. No. I'm just knowing that sometimes we have to check our blades because maybe we didn't get them sharpened up enough. Maybe we just did not have time to get the blade sharp because we were busy refilling the surgical scrub tank. This is horrible metaphorizing, but I'm trying to make a point here. So many times online, and I'm guilty of it too. I don't care what age you are. Sometimes we jump off and it's a hot button issue and we're there. And of course, we have the moral clarity, we have the moral high ground, we have the ethical clarity and moral high ground to take on anything. I hate to get into these words like, cancel cultural and all of that online, because it's a thing that exists there. Well, we always had it. If you didn't like something, you could have a mail campaign, a letter campaign, and boycott something. Boycotts have been around since the origin of the term. It's just they're on steroids when it comes to socializing, social media. What I'm saying here is that sometimes the dynamic tension between youthful zeal and a few worn corners, let's call it life experience. We need both. This is not, sometimes that clarity speaks out without knowing the whole context of what's going on, because you just simply haven't lived life to know for that certain contingency to creep into your understanding of something you're watching. Now, am I excusing bad stuff? Am I excusing getting away from our ethics and morals, our morals, messages, and meanings, as friends over at Mission Log would say? No, of course not. Of course not. But we're human beings, and we're not perfect, and we lapse. Sometimes we lapse for a long time. Sometimes we totally unintentionally lapse, despite the best intentions of a few people around us, until finally something clicks. Or maybe life gives us a swift kick. But sometimes, yeah. Now, life experience can also lead to dullness of vision. We're tired. It can lead to cynicism. It can lead to, whataboutism. It could lead to false equivalences. It could just lead to tiredness and exhaustion. And that's where we need the youthful zeal, clarity, energy. I'm just saying there's a dynamic tension there. And if this sounds generational, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be old versus young. There's plenty of old hippies out there that will still, as we saw last year, get out and say what needs to be said at the protest. Use their bodies, they're going to vote with their feet, much less protest with their feet. So yeah, sometimes youthful vigor and zeal and passion could learn a thing or two from a little bit of seasoning, not to diminish the message, but just to account for some of the other human being factors that are in the equation. And again, Twitter's 280 characters, aren't enough for that. Look, I didn't know. Talk about blinders and culture and language. Here's one. I didn't know until maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that gypsy was now not PC. That gypsy comes out of a root that was a European slang for the Roma people who have been discriminated against throughout Eastern, that came up through Turkey and the Middle East into Europe, and as such were others. It was another discriminating term. And out of Europe, turned into, the Nazis were slaughtering Romas just right along with Jews and gays and Slavs and Poles and Russians in the concentration camps and the death camps, the gas chambers. I didn't know until just recently that gypsy that's a discouraged word now. Okay, I get it. It's got its roots hundreds of years back, but if continuing that usage is bringing up something that doesn't come, just because I didn't grow up around it, means that now that we're so damn global, regionalisms aren't much of an excuse anymore. Okay, I get it. Now, do I feel sad that Gypsy Rose Lee and the musical Gypsy named after her? I haven't consulted with the Broadway database to see if they've renamed the musical yet. I'm not saying this to make fun. I'm just saying here's a practical application of when things get a little crazy messy. At the same time, just because it's not a popular regionalism, I don't know. Eventually, 1/4 of my family strain is Czech. Obviously, the lineal name. And growing up, I had older aunts and uncles. It was a term of endearment. Bohemia is a region of when it was Austria-Hungary, before the Czech nation was reemerged again. Bohemia was the region of half of Czech, the non-Slavic half of the more Germanic Austrian half of Czech, the Bohemians. And we use that term, Bohemia. It's a Bohemian lifestyle, which kind of is a little bit like the connotation, the totally innocent combination of gypsy. Someone who has a free life, a free spirit, right? They live life on their own terms. They're not held down. They're not rooted. They're kind of romantic even. They might sweep you off your feet, and you might regret it the next day, but that's just the kind of exciting, enticing personality they are, because they're a free spirit. And Bohemians, the Bohemian lifestyle, right? The old Greenwich Village kind of mentality of New York City. Here, the Venice Beach mentality here of LA. In fact, my family, there's a term of endearment. You take Bohemian, you want to make it an endearing thing. Hey, he's my little bohunk. I remember hearing, hey, get your little bohunk self over here. Get your little bohunk ass over here. When it got turned into something that a parrot might tell you. But, as a term of endearment, he's my little bohunk. And there's times that I'm wondering, no one cares about the Czech people really in this way, but maybe eventually it'll come to a point where, but there's nothing wrong with Bohemia. There was a region called Bohemia. So but will bohunk ever go the way of gypsy? That's a region. It's a slurred term for a region. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think there's any Broadway musicals called My Little Bohunk. But it can happen. It evolves. It's happened since day one. We just hadn't had social media to talk about things like this in the 1200s or the 1600s or the 1800s or now. Well, now we do. And these kind of things come up. It's the kind of thing that can come up. I'm wondering when someday I'll have to shush. Well, I'm running out of older aunts and uncles. But I'm wondering if someday an older cousin, I may have to go, we don't say bohunk anymore. I don't know. That's an example of how life creeps up on you out of totally innocent background. Look, it's a broad brush. That's the bottom line here. Going on to Twitter, just dealing in 280 characters at a time, it's very easy to broad brush everything. Broad brush people, broad brush groups. A lot of times people don't mean it. And a lot of times people do mean exactly what they're saying, and they let you know that. A lot of times people are being paid to say that, or they're being paid to automate that. And again, check your sources, guys. Go back to my old episode. The one time I've seen academic study on this, please, God, give us more academic studies of scholarly examinations of bots and trolls online so we can get a handle on this. But that 10 and 10, making up the extra 20% of the conversation, way back, find the episode. Russians, Robots, and Reflections. I did ages ago based on the USC academics' initial paper. Yeah, they're out there. And Gamergate, I think, was totally sparked by that. As with everything else we've seen, the idea of botting and trolling is to take existing differences that might be a difference and just rip them wide open and cause more social, more societal strife. So yeah, that's out there. But let's try not to broad brush everything. Let's try not to broad brush people. Here's the thing. If we're really trying to change hearts and minds, are we looking for allies? Or are we just looking for enemies? Sometimes if they tell you what they are, that old saying, was it Maya Angelou? Maybe not. If they tell you who they are, at first, believe them. That's good. Sometimes it's pretty interesting. I have a favorite TV newscaster who says, watch what they do, not what they say. Rachel Maddow. Here's a wrinkle on that. When you cross paths with someone and you differ with them and they make amends, they try to make amends. They try to say, I'm sorry. They try to say, I'll do better. And maybe your initial reaction is skepticism. Oh yeah, sure, right. You're just saying that. Think of the times you do get into a back and forth with somebody online or in real life. Do they apologize? Do they say they want to come back and do better next time? Just if they even offer the words, even if you think they're fake words, do they even go that far? But the bottom line here is I'm going to do Rachel one better. Watch what they do and say next. But to do that means we have to keep a channel open and a little bit of an open mind. We have to try to not have broad brushed a person or a whole group all at once. And all these things I'm talking about are things that used to happen not in slow motion, but just in real time. Sorry, we're not prophets. We're not the prophets. We're all still dealing in linear time here. But this whole world of what social media communication, the dynamic has evolved into, and the way that it's being manipulated by nefarious forces. Yes, all those people paying for the bots and animating a lot of the trolling. Hey, guys, some trolling is just psychos. They really are 400-pound guys wherever they were supposed to be sitting. A lot of trolling, though, is not some kind of psychostimulation. It's just the human versions of bots. And it's out there, and it's insidious. Like I always say, check your sources. Go look at if it's a big enough thing, go look at the social profile. But sometimes it's somebody you've known. I'm just saying, remember that we are global, that cracks in our veneer we do sometimes realize not until later, that we are saying chimney and salmon wrong until corrected. Sometimes it's a much bigger issue than that. Sometimes it's not even a big issue at all, but we think it reflects something else. Again, we're surmising all this from 280 characters, or even 280 characters times 1,000. The bottom line here is if we're really looking for allies, is that what we're after? Do we take people at their word if we're actually having communications? There's nothing wrong with extended conversations. And to be fair, after I wondered what was going on, and a couple of people helped catch me up on 2 or 3 of these threads going on, I kind of got the idea that everybody backed off and cooled down, and words were said and approaches were made and all that, which is good, which is good. I guess what I'm saying here today is, how do we not get to the boil over stage in the first place? Even when we do kind of need to gently poke each other, and trust that from somewhere around the globe, from 360 characters at a time, 380, whatever. I really try to avoid having that sound like a stuck record, or for those of you under 30, a feedback loop, just repetition. It just feels like every once in a while it needs to be said. The bottom line here is, let's all just take a breath. Let's be true to ourselves. Let's say what we mean to be said. Let's just see if we need, do we need a 500-pound sledgehammer, or a surgical knife, or just a Band-Aid? That was tortured. Anyway, I just thought I would put that out there. Hey, we're doing YouTube now. Maybe it'll do some good. I don't know. We're all one big happy fleet. But we're not all on the same ship. And we're all flying in different sectors at different times. And yeah, star dates are affected by the local density of matter and our position in the galaxy. So let's still account for a little bit of idic, even as we're all trying to bring ourselves along. Again, I'd much rather have allies eventually than enemies forever. Make sense? Okay. And please don't take away the word bohunk. Can we do that? I think it's okay. But after gypsy, I don't know. Gypsy was such a sweet romantic word. Who knew? Who knew it was a hate word? Is there ever a statute of limitations? Okay. Topic for another time. Here's what I want to know. Question of the week. Totally different topic. Until we get to the midway break, I'll leave you with this. In the 32nd century now, who is the real Yelchin that the USS Yelchin is named after by Future Starfleet? Or is Future Starfleet naming ships after early 21st century young actors who die tragically, who happen to have been in sci-fi movies as well as romantic young person comedies and dramas? I don't know. I just want to know who the real life Yelchin is in Starfleet history. Okay, guys. Hey, we're going to take a break here. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to wrap it up. But if you're with me live, or if you're watching us on Facebook, stick around after this break. I want to hear what everybody's talking about in the chat. I want to see how much of this circle, if I've lost you, or just what you're thinking about maybe what I'm laying down. I want to see who's new in the chat too. And I'll get back to it after we look at the Parrot analytics, after I take a break. But before then, I need to let you know that I need to thank everybody here who's on my Patreon, our TTL Club, and the Live Wires. Right? So thank you, Blaze K. Lawrence, Todd Blake Arledge. And thank you, Rusty Harold, Jared Cooper, Mr. Vestek, Halbert Good Johnson, Jay Lynn Bullock, Gary Williams, Robert McLean, and Eli Irvin. Thank you guys so much. I haven't seen the new month. If anybody else has jumped in, I'll see you here in a few days to see if you're in our Patreon community. But thank you guys so much. And why am I thanking them? Because they all jumped in to help me here expand, if you like what you're hearing, expand the reach of the Trekland way, which is not to pile on, not to give you the same old, but hopefully take a different slice like I just did on that, but also everything background Star Trek like we do in the portal. Hey, it's only $5 and $10 a month with Patreon to support creatives. That's my system anyway. I keep it simple. Trekland/Trekland Live if you go to Patreon. I appreciate it. $5 gets you the shout out, $10 gets you the shout out, and access to the first couple of years, earlier years of Portal 47, our Minicon all year long company that I started a few years ago. Other than that, guys, speaking of Portal 47, if you really want to find out what it's all about, hey, for real, we are confirmed. No more delays, no more postponements. December 9th, we're going to have the great David Carson, director of Generations, director of the DS9 Pilot Emissary, director of Yesterday's Enterprise, 8 other episodes. It's going to be our guest for an hour, part of my annual, this year, the 5th anniversary, 10 years of Portal 47. It's free to everybody. It's when we open the doors and let everybody in for a really great guest. Plus, we'll have some door prizes. I don't know, like the first year of Picard and Blu-ray there. Some of the new crop of books that are coming out. Join us. It's December 9th. Just go to LarryNemecek.com, click on Save a Seat so I have a roll call so I know who to draw from for the prizes. And that's all. It's free. A week from Wednesday, December 9th, okay? 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll at least get the Americas. I know it's middle of the night for you Europeans, but what can you do? What can you do? Hey, the rest of this week will, real quickly, the Trek Files, my podcast from Roddenberry. We've been on hiatus, an extended hiatus, but guess what? We are going to be back next week. Week from today, we'll be back for the premiere of Season 6 on the Trek Files. We've got some great guests lined up coming up. Authors, sons and daughters are going to be guests, as well as our regular Star Trek veterans. So yeah, we'll still be going through Gene's files. Gene's drawers is the fun thing to do. But look for that overnight, Tuesday morning, wherever you are. That's every Tuesday. And of course, every Saturday. We're going to be back this week after our Thanksgiving break. We've got a twofer, Dr. Ali and Dr. Trek. One of us is a real doctor with life support live, going boldly through uncertain times. We have yet to decide the theme this week. We'll do that later on after we see Wednesdays. We're doing a catch-up show, 2 shows this week. But join us, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here on the channel you're watching right now. That's all cool. And hey, you in for a secret? So I had a Cyber Monday deal. Cyber Monday was yesterday. It ended at midnight. I found out later that, we had a link issue for half of the day. So here's the thing, because you guys are my faithful TTLers, even if you're watching a day or two late, later, I should say. Here's the deal this year. This is our Cyber Monday huge deal. I call it up front because I have Portal built for monthly billing. It makes it easy for everybody. This is a huge deal. Plus 3 events in the next year, including open house night, a bonus meetup roundtable night, plus live things coming next year when we're all able to do that. Jump over there. Go to my website. There's buttons to click there. The upfront burn buster deal. For you guys, I'm going to keep it going after midnight last night. If you're interested, jump in there. I'd be glad to have you. We'll be glad to have you in Portal 47. Your mini-con all year long. Otherwise, guys, where you're watching me right now on YouTube, that's my Twitter, Larry Nemecek. If you're on Facebook with us, that's my Instagram, Larry Nemecek's Trekland. And of course, portal47.net if you want to read up. But what you really ought to do is jump in on one of these deals. Or you know what? Come watch us next Wednesday. Come check it out with Open House and David Carson. That's it, guys. We're going to take the break for now. If you're leaving us, if you're not leaving us, stay around. We'll be back after this to have some chat, and we'll look at the parrot ratings and see how Discovery's doing. But if you're on YouTube right now and leaving us, please, guys, please do what Spock, do what McCoy, do what Beverly and Julian and Floxy and the EMH would all tell you, as well as Dr. Culper. Stay well, do the science things, take care of yourself out there in this insane pandemic world. Wear a mask. And at the same time, as we said earlier, when I say stay woke, I mean check the sources. Hey, this is all a different way of saying, as always, trek well, everybody.